Today, we are cooking something that I am very excited to try. It is called Parsi creamy chicken curry. And it's from the book by Maunika Gowardhan, from the book called Thali. And this is part of the series that we've been doing where we've been testing recipes from her book, from some of the categories in the book. And this one caught my eye early on. I've been dying to make this one. First, let's go over Parsi. Parsi are a group of people who are Persians that migrated to medieval India during the 8th and 10th century to avoid persecution of when the Arabs came and took over Iran, which is where Parsi people are from. They're from Iran. They are an ethno-religious group adhering to the practice of Zoroastrianism. And when they migrated to, at that time, medieval India, they brought their food with them. I personally don't know too much about them, but I do remember when I was a child and we used to visit Pakistan all the time, being amongst the community. It's my parents, they're from the more northern part of Pakistan. So Parsi people are actually quite common in Karachi. And I never really thought of anything else except for the fact that they're Pakistanis as I saw them. They're in India, Pakistan, and possibly other neighboring countries. Again, I just don't know much about them to be able to convey more information. But if you're curious to know, you can look them up. Wikipedia has a lot of information on them, and you can see what Zoroastrianism is if you're curious. It's one of the oldest religions out there. And it's actually quite an interesting practice. I would say maybe the word, I'm not sure, but if you're curious, look them up. When I saw this recipe in Thali, I had to try and make it because I remember having some of the meals and I remember them being extremely delicious. When I mentioned it to my mother, she was actually quite excited and asked me to save her some pieces of chicken as she grew up eating those dishes as well. And I'm sure once they migrated to India that there was a lot of sharing and possibly fusion of Indian-inspired dishes and Persian-inspired dishes, where you may not see these dishes quite in Iran, and you might not see a full implementation of Indian cuisine either. This dish, what I find fascinating, that even though when you see in the photo it's quite red in color, there is no tomato in it. It's primarily made with Kashmiri chilies. And Kashmiri chilies are mild, they're rated as mild heat level, but they do still have a bit of a heat or hotness to them. But what they're really known for is that they bring a beautiful red color tone to any dish. So this dish is made with dried Kashmiri chilies ground into a paste-like consistency and then incorporated. And as promised, my mother, I did save her some pieces and I told her it'll be worth having. Now, as always, let's quickly go over the ingredients. Cue to screen. Now, if you look at the Kashmiri chili, it's a lot more wrinkly, a lot more texture on the surface as opposed to the red chili. And it is also much deeper in a red tone, like a true burgundy red tone, whereas the red chili actually has a bit of an orange tone to it. And if you hear the seeds inside each chili pod, and when you shake it, the Kashmiri chili has more of a lighter tone, whereas the red chili is a little bit deeper, not quite muted, but the seeds obviously are much bigger in there. Another aspect of this dish to give it that creamy element, there is no dairy. It is all by grinding up raw cashews. Soaking the raw cashews till they get nice and soft and then giving them a good grind to turn into almost like a paste-like consistency. I'm using a small Ninja grinder and I give it a good shake just to give the machine an opportunity to really grind it down to a paste-like consistency. Couldn't get it quite smooth, but as I was testing and touching it, I got it down to a point that even though it still had a bit of texture visibly. Okay, this is done. It's not as grainy now. It's a little grainy, but it melts when you press down on it. That was a workout. When I felt it, it was actually quite creamy. It was not grainy, so I knew that it'd be fine for the dish and it would incorporate well. The other interesting thing to this dish, I was at first questioning, why are we adding sugar near the end? And then I got it. Once I tasted the dish. Before I had added sugar, I was actually curious what it was tasting like. And when I tasted it, it had a slight, not quite so much bitter, but more acidic. And that's mainly from the peppers themselves, mixed in with the other dried spices. When the sugar was added along with the cashew paste, it just completed the overall flavor profile. It took out the acidity, it mellowed it out. It still helped retain the heat of the chilies, because when you're adding this many chilies, you will have a buildup of it. And then the creamy of the cashew was just, thinking about it is just making my mouth water. Everything came together so well, and great consistency. The aroma that came from it, the taste, there was so much complexity to it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, my mouth is watering like crazy. Now, because we're using a portable burner in this video, I had a bit of a hard time controlling the heat. So the paste had turned a little bit darker in color than I had wanted it to be. It turned almost brown, burgundy brown. So I cheated. I actually always keep Kashmiri chili powder in the pantry all the time, as I use it a lot in my cooking. And I actually sprinkled on Kashmiri chili till I got it to the color of red that I wanted it to be. I guess it's not really cheating. I'm just adding more Kashmiri chili. I mean, the author and chef of the book does say that to use her cookbook as a guide, and I guess it's not cheating. This dish, oh my, this dish turned out amazing. It's not only just beautiful to look at because of the vibrancy of the color and the texture, but It is just fucking delicious. It was unctuous. It triggers all of your saliva glands as soon as you take the first bite. It has just a touch of heat. We better get over here and taste it before I eat the whole thing. Because of the complexity of it, it actually invites you to come back and have more of it. I couldn't stop eating it, and the chicken turned out just tender, not falling off the bone, but definitely falling apart. It was perfectly made, and it's now going to become a regular in our household because I just love this dish, and the taste brings back memories of stuff I had when I was a kid when we used to visit Pakistan. The familiarity is there, and I don't know what dishes they were, but it's heartwarming for me to make this dish, as this is what I've been on the journey of, to learn how to make curry, is to not just get better at making them, but to remember of what I had when I was a kid back home that we haven't really had here. So thank you, Maunika. That was great. Thank you. So happy. So happy. I did want to touch on one thing really quickly, and it was to say, not only it's an honor to make a dish from a Persian culture, but also as to what's happening in Iran right now. It's a tough thing that all those women are going through. They are extremely strong, and we just want them to know that we see them and we hear them, and what they're doing is right. So, yeah, we see you. Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I noticed the sauce thickened up.
It did. And once I added the cashew, thickened up a lot.
Oh, that's delicious.
Oh my God. Yeah, this one turned out really good.
It's a hint of sweetness.
A bit of sugar.
Oh.